Okay, so this presentation is about nailing MIC questions. Let's start off with our top tips for getting MIC nailed. So, the first one is make sure you use the item, read through it, underline things, scribble all over it. Make sure you read through it really carefully. Secondly, think about the context first. What I want you to do is imagine that you are a researcher and you have been recruited to research a specific group, and what you are doing is you are evaluating the usefulness of a particular method to research that specific group. So the group comes first, think about the context first, then it's evaluating the usefulness of a method to research that particular group. Then think about the strengths and weaknesses of the method. Relate the strengths and weaknesses of the method to the particular context that you're in, the specific group that you're researching. Each paragraph should mention the method, the context, and the link between them, and make sure that you clarify if the strength or the weakness makes it useful or a less useful method in researching that particular context. Okay, so let's use a real example. So this paragraph here is taken from an essay about using questionnaires to research the victims of violent crime. So let's take each part of the paragraph and analyse it. So the first part here says, however, a limitation may be that as a result of limited interpersonal skills, victims of violent crime may not feel comfortable opening up about their experience because there is no rapport to be built on. Now, this bit here is just about the context. It's talking about the victims of violent crime and how they have limited interpersonal skills. Let's move on. So they may not feel comfortable opening up their experience because there is no rapport to be built on, and rapport involves first-hand interaction. Again, we still have no mention of questionnaires. Therefore, another research method, such as interviews, may be more appropriate because it allows this relationship to be built, which questionnaires do not. Now, here, there is no indication why, there is no explanation why questionnaires do not allow a relationship to be built. Because of this, altogether, this paragraph focuses too much on the context and does not relate the method to the context, does not say why the use of questionnaires either is or is not useful for researching the victims of violent crime. And for that reason, this paragraph is a level 1 paragraph, because it is too much about the context, not enough about the method in context. So let's move on to another example. This one says, finally, another weakness of using questionnaires to research violent crime. Now, let's first of all just focus on what we've got here. This word here is very important, weakness. It is indicating whether or not a questionnaire is going to be useful to research violent crime. This is something that the previous paragraph did not indicate. So let's carry on. Finally, another weakness of using questionnaires to research violent crime is that questionnaires do not allow researchers to build a rapport with the respondent. So what we have here is straight away we're talking about the method. Now, if this candidate here does not then go on to talking about the method in context, again, this would be a level 1 paragraph. Questionnaires do not allow researchers to build a rapport with the respondent, and with the horrific and sensitive nature of violent crime, trust may be needed in order for the researcher to gain the information they are looking for. Now, this bit here relates specifically to the context. It's talking about the specific context that we are in. We are talking about violent crime, and this is a result of violent crime that they may not want to open up because it was so horrific and it's a very sensitive area to research. This person then moves on to saying, therefore suggesting another method, such as an unstructured interview, may be more suitable rather than a questionnaire. Now, if this person had finished here, then like the previous paragraph, it would only really be a level 1 paragraph, because it may be a level 2 paragraph, because it does talk about the method and it does talk about the specific context, but we still haven't really got them linked together. It's this last sentence here which links them together. What they're saying is that a questionnaire is not suitable because it is too detached. And it's this word here which makes all the difference. It is this part here where we're saying that questionnaires are too detached. This then links into this idea of rapport, which then links into this idea of horrific and sensitive nature of the crime, which allows this paragraph to be given a level 3 mark, because it is linking the specific, the method to the specific context and evaluating it, saying whether or not it is a useful method for researching this specific area of research. So let's move on. This question is about researching into the experience of prisoners, and again it is about using questionnaires. So have a look at this paragraph. Getting into prisons to conduct research is hard because researchers may not be allowed into the prison. Therefore, getting access to the prison can be difficult. This will make the research finding less valid. What I want you to do now is to pause this video, and I want you to analyse this paragraph. What's going on in this paragraph? What does it tell you? What's it about? Does it talk about the context? Does it talk about the method? Does it link those two together? And does it tell you whether or not that the specific method is useful in this context? Okay, so hopefully you will have realised that this paragraph here is not a particularly good paragraph. In fact, it would really be a level 0 to level 1 paragraph. Now let's take it line by line and see why. Getting into prisons to conduct research is hard because researchers may not be allowed into the prison. That there is just about the context. Therefore, getting access to the prison can be difficult. That's just repetition. There is nothing new, no new information. This will make the research finding less valid. Again, not really talking about the method at all there. It's just really talking about the context. So therefore, that paragraph is a level 0 to level 1 paragraph. Now have a look at this paragraph for the same essay. It may be easier to get permission to send questionnaires into prison than it would be to conduct an interview, for example. This is because prisons restrict the number of visitors an inmate can receive. Therefore, using questionnaires is useful as the prison officers may not allow a sociologist into the prison to conduct the research, but with a questionnaire they don't need to be there. So again, what I'd like you to do is to pause the video, analyse this paragraph, take it line by line, sentence by sentence, see what they say, and then come up with an overall impression of what kind of level this would be. So hopefully you will have identified that this is a really good, strong paragraph. In fact, this is a level 3 paragraph. Let's take it sentence by sentence. It may be easier to get permission to send questionnaires into prison than it would be to conduct an interview, for example. So there, we're kind of talking about context, we're kind of talking about method a little bit there. This is because prisons restrict the number of visitors an inmate can receive. This bit here is specifically about the context. Therefore, using questionnaires is useful, so we've got an indication here of whether this person thinks that questionnaires is good or not for researching prisons, as the prison officers may not allow a sociologist into the prison to conduct research, but with a questionnaire they don't need to be there. So what this does, by saying this bit, questionnaires but they don't need to be there in order to conduct the research, is it links the method to the context of being in prison, because prisons restrict the number of visitors an inmate can receive. But that's not a problem with questionnaires because they don't need to be there. So as you can see, what this paragraph does is it talks about method, it talks about context, and it links them both together. And it also tells you whether it is a useful method in that particular context. So just to recap on our top tips then for getting Mick nailed, use the item. It gives you lots of clues, and use the item effectively. Think about the context first. Think about all of the different aspects of researching in that context. Imagine you have been recruited to research the specific group, and that what you are doing is evaluating how useful a particular method is to research that group. Then think about the strengths and weaknesses of the method, and relate the strengths and weaknesses of the method to the context that you've just thought about. Each paragraph should mention the method, then the context, and then link them together. Clarify if it makes it a useful or less useful method in that particular context.